G'day folks, 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 g'day folks. I'm excited because I've been shopping. Bit of an all-purpose, G'day folks, g'day folks. G'day folks, g'day everyone. I'm excited because I've been to the tackle shop and I've been shopping. G'day folks, g'day everyone, g'day folks. Shit. G'day folks, I'm excited because I've been shopping. I've been out and purchased myself a brand new fishing rod and reel and some line. It's a general purpose combo, a bit of an all-rounder, and it was under $100. So in this video, I'm going to explain to you what I've chosen, why I've chosen it, and how to set up a brand new fishing rod and reel. Right folks, now before I start, if there's any background noise I do apologise. It's very windy. I've got my camera set up hard against a tree and I've got this thing on the microphone up here called a dead cat, which is designed to muffle the wind, so hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. Now, let's get started. Brand new rod and reel and line. What have I got and why have I chosen it? I'll put the reel and the line down and go through the rod first. This is a Jarvis Walker Fish Hunter 6-foot spin rod. I didn't even know what brand it was, to be quite honest. I didn't buy by brand, I bought by feel. What I wanted was a cheap rod. I don't want an expensive rod. The main purpose of this rod is to go bait fishing in these cooler waterways where there's a lot of carp, maybe the odd yellow belly or redfin, just for the sort of angling that you see me doing so many of my videos, just sitting on the bank drowning worms. I don't need an expensive rod that's going to lay in the sand and get stood on and kicked in the mud, so I wanted something cheap. I wanted something with a fiberglass or a soft tip. I didn't want a graphite rod because, as you've seen in previous videos, they break easy when there's accidents. Graphite rods are great for casting accuracy, but for this sort of fishing that I'm going to be doing with this rod, casting accuracy isn't everything. So I didn't need to spend big dollars on an expensive rod. And how much did I spend? 20 bucks. $20 on this rod and reel. Now, what was it called again? Well, $20 on this rod, sorry. A Jarvis Walker Fish Hunter 6-foot spin. So, I'll stand back from the camera a bit. It's a 6-foot, very, very soft rod. We nickname these real soft tip rods, we call them spaghetti sticks, because they're about as firm as a bit of spaghetti. Now, the reel I've spent a bit more money on. I didn't get the cheapest reel I could find. I've got a slightly more expensive reel, and I'll show you that now. I've gone the Shimano Sienna 2500. This is a $59 reel. It's a $69 reel. It's a $70 reel. There are cheaper reels and there's much more expensive reels. The reel that I use on my main trout and redfin rod is a Shimano Stratic, a CI4 Stratic. That's a $300 reel. I need that good quality reel because when you make cast after cast after cast, all day just casting, hundreds of casts, you need a good quality reel that's going to be smooth to use all day and it's going to last for quite a long time. So I needed to spend the big bucks. For a reel that's likely to lay in the sand and the mud, maybe when I'm fishing I might make 4 or 5 casts each time I move my bait around. I don't need to spend big bucks. In fact, Shimano have some quite good reels around the $40 price range. I could have got away with a cheaper reel. But the reason I've gone with the Sienna, a little bit more expensive, is because this rod and reel could very well double up as a spinning combo if I needed to. So I wanted to get a slightly better reel, just in case I decide to flick a salter around or a spinner or a soft plastic or something. So I've gone the Shimano Sienna 2500 size. Now, obviously the first things first, put it on the rod. I've got to loosen the reel seat here, put it on the rod, tighten the reel seat, and there it is, it's on the rod. Now when you buy a lot of reels, they've got like a loose handle like that, you see. You've got to tighten it up. Here is a tip, here's a power tip. Rex Hunt taught us this many, many years ago, but I see a lot of people today, they call themselves right-handed, so they reel with the right hand. If you're right-handed, you need to cast with the right hand and reel with the left hand. So what I need to do is change this handle over. So I'm going to pull this side out. You'll see I'm taking the cap off here. I'll take the handle out. I'll put it in the left hand side, and I'll explain in a moment why you need to reel left-handed. I'll just get it set up first. Rightio, so there it is. The rod is on the reel, ready to go, left-handed. Now, the reason I say you need to reel left-handed, you can reel left-handed, you can reel right-handed. All you're doing is turning a handle, nothing important. When you're casting accuracy is everything. And you're going to get better casting accuracy if you cast with your dominant hand. So you want to cast, if you're right-handed, you want to cast right-handed and then just turn the handle left-handed. I see a lot of people that have the reel on the right hand, they cast right-handed, they swap their rod over to the left hand and then they reel right-handed. And in the time that they swap, quite often the soft plastic or the spinner can sink a little bit and foul up on the weeds. So you'll really want to get into the habit, if you're right-handed, cast with the right, reel with the left. Cast with the right, reel with the left. Now, you may notice in a lot of my videos that my bait caster reels are right-handed, and I'm going to tell you why that is. Because you would have seen that I just changed this handle from the right to the left. With a bait caster, you can't change them. So when Rex Hunt taught us back in the 90s or the late 80s that we need to cast with the right and reel with the left, a lot of us were able to just do what I just done and swap the handles over. But I had a heap of bait casters and I couldn't swap the handles over. So I don't want to be stuck with half right and half left. So short of getting rid of all my right-handed reels and going left-handed only, I've had to stay with the right. Maybe one day I'll go left-handed, I know I should. But you really want to get in, if you're right-handed, you want to get in the habit of casting with the right and reeling with the left. And if you're left-handed, you want to get in the habit of casting with the left and reeling with the right, because the casting part is the most important part of the process, particularly if you're lure fishing. At first, it'll feel awkward. It'll feel like you're reeling it in round in circles like this. It'll feel like the rod's going around. And then it'll take a few hours to get the hang of. But within just a matter of hours, you will be used to using the other hand and you will never ever look back. I need you to trust me on this one. So folks, there's my rod and reel set up. My Shimano Sienna 2500 on my Jarvis Walker Hunter rod. Now let's put the line on. Rightio, now it's time for the line. I've kind of changed the camera angle a little bit here so that you can see what I'm doing. I talk a lot about Maxima Ultra Green, 4 pound Maxima Ultra Green as being my favourite line for trout and redfin fishing. Well, today I'm putting Maxima Ultra Green on my all-rounder, my bait fishing rod. So I've gone the 6 pound. You'll see there's the Maxima Ultra Green, but you'll see at the top 6 pound. The reason I've gone 6 pound over 4 pound is because this rod is destined to be catching big carp. It's going to get snagged a bit more. So I just need that little bit of extra strength, but I don't want to go 8 pound because then when the really little fish nibble, I won't see the nibble as well. And also, if I'm fishing in the current, the line will hit the 8 pound, the current will hit the 8 pound line and it will drag more. And it will also drag more in the wind. So I want a line that's light enough to allow me to see the little finicky nibbles and allow me to cast out properly and allow me to get away with using the smallest sinker possible. But I also want a line that's heavy enough just to give me that little bit of extra strength if I do hook a bigger fish. So I've gone Maxima Ultra Green in the 6 pound. Now let's put it on the reel. The way I prefer to do this is just to get the end of the line, run it down. I normally just throw the spool on the ground somewhere. I'll run the line down through the rod. You can get fancy devices for rigging, for spooling up your line and whatnot, but this is the way I prefer to do it. Run the line down through the rod and onto the reel. Now this is the bit where a lot of people come unstuck. They'll tie that to the spool there now, and then it won't work. You need to open the spool and tie the line on and then close the spool so that the line is under the spool. So I'll open the spool. You might not be able to see this on the camera. What if I go way back here? Tying my line on. Rightio, I bit the tail off that then, which is probably bad. You should use a knife and cut it. But I forgot my knife. I actually have got a knife in the car. That's not a knife. That's a knife. But it's a little bit of overkill. I've got a little pocket knife and I forgot to bring it. So anyway, the line is on the reel. The bail is closed, it's ready to go. Here's another very important tip. If you are spooling up with braided line, which I don't use on these types of reels, but if you do want to use braided line, always put a little bit of monofilament line on the bottom first, because the monofilament will pull tight and grip the spool a lot better. Braided line won't. And what will happen once you hook a fish, the whole spool of line will turn. The whole lot will turn and it won't grip the spool. And you'll be doing this and reeling like mad and nothing will be happening. So if you're using braided line, put a little bit of monofilament on the bottom first, maybe only 20 or 30 metres. But if you're just using straight monofilament like I am, then that doesn't matter. Now all I do, I leave the spool to run feral on the ground there. I put the line between my thumb and my index finger about a foot or two up from the reel, and I reel it in. The drag's a bit loose, so I'll tighten that. It doesn't matter what the reel does, the spool does. It can sit still, it can run around, it can go feral, it doesn't matter, because all of the tension control is between my thumb and my index finger and the spool down here. Righto folks, I've got to crouch down because of the camera angle. There is my reel all fully spooled up with line. Now you'll notice I haven't overdone it. Another very important tip for you guys, and it's a mistake that a lot of people make, is they over spool. They put too much line on the spool. And if you've got too much line on the spool, what will happen is when you cast, the line will just loop off and you'll get tangles at the end. So while it's tempting to overspool the reel and put too much on, you want to stay a few millimeters under the perimeter of that spool to prevent that overspooling or that overrun and that tangling. So another tip, don't overspool when you spool it up. Now it's time to put a hook and sinker on. Right, now it's time to rig up. Now if you hear any background noise, it's because there's a road right behind me. It's actually not a very popular road, but a couple of cars have gone past while I'm filming. Now, as I've done with a lot of my videos, I'm going to be using a patternoster rig. This may look like the only rig that I ever use, but I promise you it's not. Sometimes I do use a running sinker rig, and then when I'm drifting bait for trout, I use sometimes just a hook tied to the end of the line, and sometimes a little split shot. But the patternoster rig is by far my favourite. Right, now, there's my sinker. It's a bit smaller than a marble. It's not a very big sinker. When you're choosing your sinker size, it's all about getting away with using the smallest weight that you can get away with. We're only going to be fishing here today. There's a little bit of current, but not too much, so I can get away with a nice small sinker. There's no point in me using a great big heavy sinker if there's not much current, because a fish will grab the bait, feel the weight of the sinker, and I'll lose it. But if there's a lot of current and I need to keep my bait still, well, I don't have a choice but to use a heavy sinker. Or if I'm on a lake and I need to cast a long way, I'm going to need a heavy sinker. But today I don't. I can get away with a light one, so I'm using a small one. I'm just going to pull a loop up into the line and wrap that through there just like that. So there's my sinker, there's my loop. Now one little loop like that, one little hitch isn't usually enough. You want 2 or 3 at least. So I've got three hitches. So I've got my sinker down the bottom, my loop coming off the side. Now I want to put my hook onto the loop. I'll just grab my hook from up here. I've done this quite a few times in my videos, so you might be familiar with this. Get the very end of the loop, squeeze it tight, push it through the eye of the hook, then loop it over the top of the hook, ready to go. There's my patternoster rig. I've just got to cut the tail off the end of this sinker. I'll just get my pocket knife out. This is actually a deer hunting knife. I've had it for years. There we go. So there we go, folks. A brand new rod and reel, ready to get going, get christened. It's a very soft, cheap rod. I've got a little bit more expensive with the reel. I wanted something of reasonable quality. Shimano Sienna, 60, was it 70 bucks? I think that's quite a good price for this reel. It's quite a nice reel. 6-pound line, patternoster rig, ready to go. Now I'm going to go fishing. There may or may not be a part 2 to this video. The fishing part. thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this useful. If you're new to fishing and you want to know how to set up a rod and reel, hopefully I've covered all bases, but if you've got any questions about setting up your brand new rod and reel, don't forget to leave a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to them. I don't get to reply to all the comments. I've got 700 videos and I get a stack of comments. But I do try and keep up, particularly with my newer videos when I first upload them. So if you've got any more questions, put a comment below and hopefully I can help you out. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, do want to consider doing so, and I'll see you in the next video.